Hello, and thank you very much for joining us. My name is Simon Bates and I lead on green infrastructure for East Devon District Council. And I'm delighted to tell you about a beautiful new public green space that we've bought at Station Road, Broadclyst, and invite you to comment on our draft proposals. And this talk is in two parts. The first part covers the context to the site and our proposed layout. And the second part is focusing in on the car park. So the site is shown here as the green boundary. It's just west of Cranbrook, just east of the Lidl warehouse, and just north of London Road, the old A30. And you can also see the Exeter Waterloo railway line forms one boundary of the site to the north. Just also to point out that there will be an Amazon warehouse in future, shown here as a black rectangle. And indeed, as Cranbrook expands west into this blue land here, the new site will be on the doorstep of the growing community. So this is a picture of the site as it looks today, a series of fields that have been farmed with grazing with cattle and sheep and hay cuts in the past. And here we're looking towards Exeter and specifically to the Pinhoe Ridge. And you can see that it's a beautiful place now, and we hope to make it even more stunning. We're really excited about this. It's the first purchase by East Devon District Council in the Clyst Valley Regional Park, a major new green space just east of Exeter, serving the growing community. You can already enjoy walks at Cranbrook Country Park and at gems like the National Trust Killerton House and Park to the north, and indeed Ashcliff Forest. And we've also provided access along some permissive pathways at Poltimore Park in a section of restored parkland. And so the diagram here shows our site forming part of this regional park puzzle. This is an aerial photograph. Imagine you're hovering above Exeter here and you're looking out towards Cranbrook. Down to the bottom here, going left to right, is the M5 motorway, and on the right hand side the A30 going away to Honiton. You can probably just see the airport runway here, and here is our site edged in yellow next to the little warehouses and indeed Cranbrook. And just to show that this is in the blue here, the blue wash is the Clyst Valley Regional Park boundary, predominantly floodplain at this point. And we've been doing some river restoration at Clyst Honiton. There's some new woodland, a hectare of new woodland to be planted in this location immediately alongside Minerva Country Park. And also we're on the doorstep of the National Trust Killerton Estate, and they've just launched an exciting project called 3 Rivers, which is about large-scale habitat restoration and habitat creation. So this is all part of the jigsaw puzzle that is the Clyst Valley Regional Park, with various pieces of green space coming forward to form a large area for you to enjoy. So just focusing in on the site here, this is a 1880 Ordnance Survey map, a first edition Ordnance Survey map, and you can see Station Road marked on here, and our site is edged in red on this plan. And I just wanted to point out some of the features that have changed between then and now. If I toggle forwards and backwards here to an aerial photograph taken in 2019, and indeed some of the features that have stayed the same. So for example, you might notice that there are some orchards here which sadly have gone now, but we hope to replace an orchard on the site soon and get you involved in planting that. Other things that you might notice are that in this central field here, there is now a further drainage ditch that was put in as part of agricultural operations. And then we've lost this field boundary here with its associated trees, although some of those trees are still standing, marking the former hedgerow alignment. And if you focus in on this yellow ring tree here, this is one of the wonderful oak trees that still stands on the site and that you can enjoy once we've delivered the new access infrastructure to this site. So what are the objectives that we've got in mind? We'd like to deliver year-round public access on an all-ability circular trail. We'd like to enhance the nature conservation value of the land, and we'd like to tackle climate change by soaking up carbon, principally through habitat creation on the site, although providing new access, particularly a multi-use trail, which I'll mention in a minute, that will further help to take cars off the road. We'd like to provide facilities for schools to visit, and we'd like to engage you, local people, in surveys of the site to find out more about its wildlife and its history, involve you in monitoring and indeed management of the site. And we'd like to use art to create a unique place. So this is a little bit complex, this diagram. It's a possible layout of habitats and access infrastructure. So let me talk you through it. And the key thing to see here is that the yellow line edged black is a proposed new multi-user trail linking Cranbrook with Exeter, which will travel along the edge of the site. This is going to be an alternative to the existing trail along the London Road, which is becoming busier and noisier and more polluted. This will be a much more leafier, much more pleasant route, and it will pass through the new car park, and you can find out more about that in part 2. A car park here shown as that red colour. And then linked to the multi-user trail, a series of footpaths shown here as the black dotted lines. And then we'd like to create a mosaic of wonderful new habitat. We've got woodland shown here, dark green, the area of orchard, new orchard that I mentioned in pink, associated scrubland, new series of ponds and scrapes, associated reed bed in brown, drier meadows shown as orange, and then wetter meadows as the light blue. So here's a couple of images to bring that to life for you. The site is wet, particularly in the winter, and we therefore will need to put in areas of boardwalk to provide that all year round, all ability trail. But we think we can also create a series of just gravel paths elsewhere, rather like the picture on the left. The multi-user trail on the left-hand side will be about 3 meters wide, and it will be a surfaced trail. And for cycling and for mobility scooters and wheelchairs and the like. And just on the right here, this is actually an image from Holland, but it's just put in to illustrate that we want to try and segregate users to give everybody the best possible experience. So in this image, the cycleway is separated from, in this case, it's a equestrian, a horse riding track, but also used as a footpath. So we'd like to try and separate out users as much as possible. Mentioned the new orchard. We'd like to put in a picnic area as part of that. and new areas of scrub. So here we've got blackthorn in blossom, and that's a wonderful site that we can look forward to very soon now in our Devonshire countryside. Really important for pollinating insects, looks fantastic, and then of course you get the berries later on for the birds. Earlier on I mentioned ponds and scrapes. So this is a diagram showing the existing watercourse through the site. The main watercourse is this dark blue line, and it starts on the airport actually, and comes along one edge of the site, crosses over it, and then exit via a culvert underneath the railway to the Cranny Brook. And the photograph here shows you what the stream is like at the moment. And what we're proposing to do is to probably put a dam in at around about this location here, and to divert the water through a meandering stream and a series of ponds and scrapes, which will be wonderful for wildlife, much more interesting for you, the visitor, as well. Just to point out on this diagram also the drainage network, which will block up, and it also shows some of the areas that do have standing water at times of the year, and we'll seek to enhance those as wetland features and provide board walking across them. And this just gives you a flavour of what we're trying to achieve. So a scrape on the left hand side. The scrapes on our site will not be anywhere near as big as these, but these are basically areas of shallow water which are brilliant for wading birds. And then on the right hand side, we'd like to put in a pond dipping platform to one of the ponds that we create. The meadows on the site are not particularly exciting for wildflowers at the moment. They're dominated by some coarse grasses, and this is a shot taken from the site last summer. Well, what we'd like to try and create is something that looks more like this, with wonderful orchids, in this case southern marsh orchids, and you might also be able to pick out some yellow rattle, hay rattle here. And we think that by cutting at the grass on the site quite hard to expose some areas of bare earth, we can then take a hay crop from a nearby site and scatter it on the site, and the seed will drop out and hopefully germinate, and we can start to see wonderful displays like this in the future. So that concludes the presentation for part one, the context and the proposed layout. Please do listen to part two, where we talk in more detail about the proposed car park. Thank you.